other people, tenants of the public housing, and the other neighborhoods of what we're doing. And that was a problem last Thursday, and the one tenant I talked to said there would be no more tactical police training on our property. On Ida Yarbrough, that's it. And any other properties, we're going to have to do more training with Chief Cox and other members of the police department so that we get this right, and we don't have this occur again in the future. It's been very successful training over many, many years, and this is the first problem that we have, and we want to fix it. And that's pretty much all I have. If someone has any questions, I'll turn it over to Chief. Yes, sir.
I'm actually the gentleman that was threatened with arrest. So I want to know, you said that you was partnering, you and the people that you were dealing with saw no problem. But my personal feeling is, if there wasn't a problem and there wasn't danger there, then why would you lock this space off? The officer approached me and told me that there was danger in the place. I'm not going to say he did, but in the same token, like one of my friends said, if it's not appropriate for a 4-year-old to go to an R-rated movie, what makes it appropriate for a 4-year-old to see that live in action in their community where they live? I've seen my friend's child hurry when they see this officer, the lieutenant, come to secure the scene, which he just did. Was that yesterday or earlier today?
That wasn't me, but I will certainly, I will answer your question. If you just don't mind, I want to just address a couple of things, but I promise you, I'll answer your question.
All right. I'm just saying, like, nobody in my community and the thing about it is, I wouldn't even came out my house if I didn't hear the flash grenades, the gunshot. Like, it was no preparation. Nobody, you can't bring one person that can say they was notified. Not one. That's the president of my tenant association right there. She hands out flyers for everything. If they farting on the corner and it's something with the community that's going to build the community up, she's putting out a flyer. I don't hear nothing. And you'll be approached and you're told that I'm going to be arrested. I pay rent. It's going to get trained. That's so unfair to my community. I'm flabbergasted, really.
Would it be okay if I said something and all the questions up here? All right, I don't want to say anything wrong. I know you got them all, I know you want to, if it's okay. You guys are fine if I just address. Understand everything you're saying, and I want to address it all. We've had an emergency services team for a very long time. We've had a very good relationship with the housing authority for Cunningham. We train to save lives, plain and simple. That's what we're doing. We don't have the trainings that we do have. We have every single month. We train twice a month, and then we ultimately have a 2-week training in the fall. If we don't have those trainings, then we're not up to par with being able to save lives. And I'm going to bring an incident that brings it home to here, to this city. I don't want to talk about what happens nationally. I want to talk about what happens here. 2 years ago, Christmas in 2010, we had a hostage situation down West Street. And we had a gentleman who was had some substance abuse issues that night going on. He was in a bad predicament, and he took a number of people hostage. In that house, in that apartment, there were 2 small children in the back of that house. Because of our training, and because of the work that we do collectively in the department, but also in the community, we were able to rescue everybody, get everybody out of that house, including getting those 2 children out of the house while that gentleman was still in the house, in the bedroom with the gun, holding 3 other people hostage, and having claimed that there was an improvised explosion device in that house that was going to go off if we entered the house. We made a tactical decision to save those children's lives, and we would make that every single day. If we weren't able to do the training we do, we would have never been able to get those children out of there alive. We would have never been able to get those other folks out of there alive. We wouldn't have been able to get that gentleman. He survived, thankfully, out of there alive, because he's also part of the equation. So So we have to do training. We do the trainings across the city. We can go across the county, the region. In fact, we can go to the county. And one of the things that happens is this. We try to find properties that are vacant and that are either scheduled to be rehabilitated or demolished. Because obviously there's going to be some things in there that are going to get broken by us, to say the least. So we try to do that, and we try to make sure we work with partners who are willing to have us come in. And we do have a lot of people that call us up and say, hey, we have a property, it's a such and such a location, please come on in, train. It gives us a couple different things. It lets us know that the layout of the building. And once again, it gives us that realistic training. We needed to do that. So we trained on those. It's apparent. There are things we need to improve on. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're not. One of them is notification. The other one is community input. We need to do those. Without a doubt, we need to do those. But we also need to train. We need to be able to save the lives of not only the individuals in this room, but everybody in this community, everybody that's involved. So we need to balance that. And I think we can find that. Most of you in this room know it. Most of you in this room know Chief Protocol. You know that we're going to work together to get this solved and to work together.
Would it be beneficial to talk to your police officers and how they can interact with people in the community, especially residents that you're bringing in? I mean, I understand they're amped up from the situation that they're about going through, but to come up the stairs and then threaten a resident with arrest, and he's paying rent. Something's wrong with that picture, and then physically block him from leaving, and he's diabetic.
Here's what we said.
I guess the question is, why are you confining part of that training?
No. Nobody was confined.
She was at my house.
Nobody was left to confine. Nobody was left to feel that way. That wasn't part of it.
She's physically confined
Right on.
at my house. And when that officer that confined her, will he be reprimanded?
I want to talk about it. I think we need to talk more individually. Okay? Because that's not exactly what I'm looking for. I haven't spoken to you. Well, let's talk about that and let's figure that out. So nobody was left to be confined at all. The area was cordoned off. There were officers that were placed in various spots as safety officers. And then I want to make sure I answer this question. The question is whether or not there was danger. Well, there was always danger when there's training. What was not in this training was anything. There was no ammunition, live ammunition. It was all simulations, which were basically have a soapy substance in them. They're almost like a paintball. They're not. They've got a soapy substance in them. So, but still, even with that, what we don't want is anybody walking into that area. We don't want. There certainly could be a situation where somebody could be hurt, but not because of what we were entering there. We want to have a safety net.
So then we should remain in our homes and be confined in our homes, then, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible to me that you said that when your officer, not name him by name, pulled up his pants and showed me a little wound on his leg from when he go around. And explained to me this was the reason that he was asking me not to be around because it was a dangerous situation. It can't be both ways. Either it is or either it isn't. The fact of the matter is, Officer Anderson had a mark on either his left shin or his right shin. I mean, I might have did it today, but I've seen it with my own two eyes. So you can't stand here and tell me that it's not, that you did safety.
What I can tell you is that anywhere outside of the cordoned off area is absolutely. Outside of that cordon area, that's why they asked you to stay outside.
But the area is occupied. It's occupied.
I want to make sure we get it. Does somebody mind just kind of facilitating getting people, like, just because I don't want to miss somebody and I don't want to make it look like I'm doing something.
All right, next question we have here.
Well, I'm the president, and as you were saying, okay, you're doing these maneuvers in unoccupied development. Ida Yarbrough is still occupied, so there was no reason why that should have took place, and there was no notification to us whatsoever. Me as a tenant, I wasn't notified, and as the president of the Tenants Association, I was not notified. And these people were horrified. They were at my door like I thought I was in Beirut. The way they came to me, telling me what happened. That was unnecessary, and I really feel that should never happen again.
Yes, sir.
We have a question here.
Yeah, I wanted to point out a couple of things. And I'm glad you're hearing the lieutenant correctly. But as the president of NACC, I have a couple of concerns and overriding questions here. The housing authority, I think if you routinely or cavalierly put this commission out, that you really need to work on the communication to the residents that might be impacted. Right. If you go to the site, you will see that there is a fenced-off period part of the premises, quite large, where they've been vacant for some time and an 8-foot fence around. Why on heaven's name would you give permission for them to go to an area that's within 20 yards of people where people live and not allow them or not confine them to that area which is fenced off and construction equipment where the same structure and so forth may have been done with complete safety? That is a concern that we have. The other concern I have is why are we authorizing this within a block of elementary? And we're only like 98 miles from Newtown, Connecticut. Who's doing these strategic things? But why would you, in your right mind or in your wrong mind, ever authorize this kind of activity? And it's a block away from an elementary school. Doesn't make sense. I don't care if you've been doing it since 1895. It makes no sense to authorize this in the grander scheme of things. That's right. And so I direct a lot of my curiosity to the housing authority and what you did. Understand these tenants are in a transition period. As they explained it to me, their homes are being in a systematic way vacated and demolished, and they're expected to pick up and move somewhere else. And nobody has, not the tenant president or any of the tenants that you've heard from, has any concrete information as to when the other shoes are going to drop with respect to them, with respect to how do they prepare the children, are the children remaining in the schools that they're in now, or they're going to be transferred because they get transferred out of the neighborhood. These are questions that need to be answered, and they need input at the earliest. And as an advocate for them, I would hope the authorities do a better job. Lieutenant, I would commend your chief for making the statement that you did over the weekend. I would certainly commend your attitude, but I also think that you possibly need to explain to the safety officers, as you call them, that tact and a little bit of understanding, a little bit of human empathy goes a long way to moving over a lot of it. And this gentleman pointed out this officer was lacking in all that. And this young lady who was intimidated at the beginning, she couldn't even come out of her home. So when people sign on to public housing, they don't advocate the Fourth Amendment right to be taken. Possession of their own home. That's exactly what it did. For a period of time, it took away their freedom, it took away their freedom of movement, and it basically inculcated into the whole neighborhood a lack of security and a lack of safety, and I want to make that safe.
Part of the report, we have the police department is to vet feedback and see how we can work together in the future and make sure that everybody understands what's happening and that there isn't this communication. So I mean, I don't really have a response because I appreciate what you said. I'm trying to think all that.
We'll try to make sure we get
Yeah, no, we will absolutely, before we leave tonight, we will make sure we have a follow.
I'd like to go back to Jay Cunningham's statement. You talked about the history of working with the Albany and you mentioned the fact that, well, not just the other areas, but that you regret that this is the first problem that's been noted. Did I also hear you say that based upon a request that you will not be doing this again in Ida Yarbrough? Okay, and then what about any other corporate housing? Because Albany Housing owns and manages a great deal of housing in communities of color and low-income neighborhoods. And that is for the vacant and abandoned buildings. Those are the places where buildings that are going to be demolished are, which are what the police need for the training. So based upon this past week's experience,
how is that going to impact in your thinking for future training?
Well, we haven't made a decision yet on that, but we certainly have to change what we're doing. And we work with the police department, and I think we have to do a better job reaching out to the community, not only in the public housing, but in the adjoining neighborhood. So we have to improve on what we do, and we want to do that. But like I said earlier, we want the police trained, and we think it's important, but we also have to be concerned with the people who live there and in the adjoining neighborhood. That will be a planning session. I'm not going to say now that we're not going to ever train in public housing again.
Not in Ida Yarbrough.
Not in my area.
As far as the training on locations, I mean, we have done this throughout the city, and we need to make sure that wherever we are in the city, that we work with the community. We do those notifications. We trained, I mean, Scotland Avenue, on the St. Teresa's, when that was vacant, we trained at a house out in Albor, in Scotland, on Hartford Road. So we have done this all over the city. And I'm saying we need to make sure that wherever we are, we make those appropriate measures.
More of a statement of the question. Please keep it brief. So, I was just like, I'm not saying by the time I have my arms to say one for, basically, what has happened here, basically, has been a disconnected information from my observation of the situation, from the comments I got from the media regarding the police side of the situation. There was a disconnect in information. There was a disconnect connecting the information to the community at large. And the fact of the matter is that had any other community information would have been disseminated and it would not have been an issue. But this is pointing out a larger problem. As the council people in this room know, and if you've been watching Channel 4, you know, for months now, I've been pushing for an Office of Urban Affairs in the city, an office that is a clearinghouse of information, and that's actually connect with a community that's disconnected from city information, which is the urban communities, Arbor Hill, South End, West End. And this is a prime example of that disconnect and why we need such a office, where we can have this information provided. If we had an Office of Urban Affairs, the police could have provided this information and our community could have been ready. But the fact is, we have a divide of information to the urban community. So I would hope that everyone in this room would join me in pushing for that office to be created. This is a prime example of why it's needed. Because as long as we're kept outside of the loop, this is going to happen. We got people in here who are on all types of police boards and police information, and they're out the loop. We need an office that's going to keep us informed and keep us involved. And my question would basically be, as far as the communication side of this, who did the police department actually contact to inform the public that this was going on? Who were the people responsible? Because they're the ones who have failed in this effort. They're the ones who should be held accountable. The people who are responsible for coming forward with information to the public to let them know that 21st of March, I believe it was, this was going to take place in the community, because maneuvers have to be there. I support that. I understand that. But whenever you have maneuvers or waivers, as they say in the military, people are notified well beforehand. Hey, we're going to be having maneuvers. You can't be here. And that's what we lack here, a lack of information. So what I'd like to know is who was the person responsible for providing information, because they failed our community in providing that information. And that's who should be held accountable.
I'm not here to point fingers at other people on, I appreciate that, but ultimately, why stop right here?
We got
I just want to congratulate the courage of the residents that spoke up. And if there's any question of whether we love our community, that hopefully you can put to the side. I want to make sure through you, Chief Cox and Mr. Cunningham, that there will be no reprisals. I know that there were also complaints of threats and intimidation. Your name was used. The police officer was threatening. I know you two gentlemen are not, so I know, I believe you if you told me that we want to make sure that because these people had the courage to use their First Amendment right and say what was acceptable in their neighborhood, that there will be no reprisal. Because housing is very important to many people.
parent accountable, and that we do not hold anyone
I live in houses, and like, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks before, they had the same thing going on back here, you know. Maybe a young lady wasn't home then, and, you know, wasn't nothing happening. But this time something happened, you know, and my thing is like, it sounds like it's a communication problem. Like the tennis association president, she was busy doing something else, you know. I know the manager of our complex, you know, say they have him going here, there, everywhere, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes we looking for him in the building, and he's at a whole nother site, you know? So my thing is like, this whole thing is just basically like a miscommunication, you know what I'm saying, between Albany Housing and the police and the residents, you know? I apologize for what happened to your son, and, you know, and all that there, but that just lets me know that we need to get together, you know what I'm saying, and like with the president, you know what I'm saying, when she's busy with something, you know, the couple that want to step up, you know, but when things like this happen, if they do decide to do this at Arbor Hill again, because me, myself, I like them doing it, no offense, I like them doing it right here, by the school, with it cordoned off, but guess what? The event that happened in Cunningham was actually in the school. You know, so doing it by the school, you know, they made snatch a kid come from school and running over an apartment, of course they vaping and have them up in there, so that, to me, that's like a good thing. I'm just saying, hypothetically, you know what I'm saying, it sounds good. I understand that. Like I said, that's the communication problem. That part I'm not arguing with y'all about. I'm just saying, doing it right there, though, in that type of situation is bad, but it's good, too. Like, you know, it weighs out. But, like you said, if you traumatize a child and all that there, it's not a good thing. That's because of communication. That's all.
I understand